Hey everyone, welcome. I am so thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. If you own rental property in the Kansas City metro area, or honestly, if you are just considering investing here, you already know that fair housing compliance is a massive topic. But today we are going way beyond the basics. We are opening up the Kansas City Landlord Compliance Playbook to take some very complex overlapping rules and break them down into practical, repeatable processes that actually protect your investment. So let's get right into it.
Now, before we really dive into the details, I want to be perfectly clear about something. This explainer is strictly educational. It is designed to share practical frameworks based on real-world property management experience. It is not legal or tax advice. You should always consult your attorney for specific legal guidance regarding your own properties.
Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. 1. The cost of inconsistency. 2. The 4 layers of law. 3. Avoiding advertising traps. 4. Navigating inquiries and showings. And 5. The standardized screening playbook.
Section 1. The cost of inconsistency. The price of inaction.
It is a really hard truth in real estate that well-meaning landlords often create their own legal liability simply by not having a strict process. Look, a single inconsistent response can cost you more than a full year of rent in fair housing claims. The federal civil penalties for just a first offense alone can literally reach tens of thousands of dollars. Add in the actual damages to the complainant and your own legal costs, and the financial risk becomes absolutely massive. The thing to remember is that discrimination claims almost never turn on what you intended. They turn on whether you treated two applicants differently.
But on the flip side, strict consistency actually drives incredible success. Notice that massive 98% right there? By applying identical, written processes to every single applicant, Alpine Property Management Kansas City has maintained a 98% rent collection rate and a 14-day average vacancy. They have achieved this across more than 250 properties since 2013. And most importantly, they have done the whole shebang without ever taking a single discriminatory shortcut.
Section 2. 4 layers of law. Overlapping rules.
We really have to address the chaotic geographic reality for Kansas City investors. You are not just managing under one simple rulebook. Just look at how complex this gets. The Federal Fair Housing Act sets the baseline by protecting classes like race and religion. But then the states jump in. Both the Missouri Human Rights Act and the Kansas Act Against Discrimination add ancestry to the list. Then it gets even more hyper-localized. Properties inside Kansas City, Missouri city limits fall under Ordinance 23109, which adds protections for other lawful sources of income. You simply cannot run one blind screening policy across state lines. It just doesn't work.
And to make matters even more complicated, local laws shift incredibly fast. Just look at the confusing timeline of Kansas City Ordinance 23109. The rules regarding housing vouchers actually changed 3 times in just 18 months. In August 2024, a voucher mandate began inside the city limits. Then in February 2025, a federal court injunction paused that mandate. Finally, in August 2025, Missouri House Bill 595 preempted the local mandate statewide. So while landlords can now lawfully decline Section 8 vouchers statewide in Missouri, you can clearly see why relying on old advice or outdated headlines is incredibly dangerous.
Section 3. Avoiding advertising traps. Marketing compliance.
So liability often starts long before you ever meet an applicant or even show a property. This is a classic trap right here. We have a very common but totally non-compliant phrase, perfect for a single professional. Versus the compliant alternative, features an easy commute and modern finishes. You see, phrases that feel completely harmless in casual conversation are exactly the ones that get flagged by testers because they secretly signal familial status and marital preferences. The golden rule of real estate marketing is super simple. Always describe the property, never the ideal tenant.
Let's look at how local geography impacts your actual ads. Say you have a property in the Waldo neighborhood of Kansas City, Missouri. That falls under the surviving parts of the local ordinance. Because of that, your advertising must accept verifiable lawful income like disability or child support. However, a nearly identical property just a few miles west in Overland Park, Kansas has absolutely no source of income protections at all. It is the exact same metro area, but completely different rulebooks. Your ad copy must accurately reflect the specific jurisdiction of each individual property.
Section 4. Navigating inquiries and showings, live interactions.
Live interactions are arguably the absolute highest risk moments in the entire leasing process. First, we need to clearly define steering.
Steering is unlawfully guiding a prospect toward or away from a property or neighborhood based on a protected class. A casual comment like, "You would probably feel more comfortable over in this neighborhood," might feel incredibly helpful in the moment, but actually, scratch that. It is a major compliance violation. In fact, it is one of the most common violations discovered nationwide by fair housing paired testers.
To defend against these claims, your process must be ironclad. You literally must treat every prospect exactly the same. You need identical inquiry scripts for phone calls and emails. You need to provide the exact same tour to everyone. When it comes to disability accommodations, handle those requests consistently in writing. And remember, you can never charge pet fees for verified assistance animals. Offering the exact same availability, information, and next steps to every single caller is without a doubt your absolute best defense.
Section 5. The Standardized Screening Playbook. Standardize the process. All right, this is where we operationalize everything we have learned today into a repeatable, highly defensible system. Here is the exact 5-step application checklist used by Alpine Property Management. Step 1 is verifying identity equally for all adult occupants. Step 2 is calculating verifiable income uniformly regardless of where that income comes from. Step 3 requires checking rental history using identical reference questions for every single applicant. Step 4 is applying a published objective credit threshold. And finally, Step 5 is reviewing criminal backgrounds individually and neutrally. You should never use a blanket automatic denial. A documented, identical process is exactly what a fair housing investigator wants to see. If you take one thing away from this explainer today, let it be this: process over intent. Publish the standard, apply it to everyone, and document the outcome. The vast majority of fair housing exposure does not actually come from malicious bias. It comes from inconsistency and outdated rules knowledge. Fixing your process rather than just relying on your good intentions is truly the only way to remove legal risk.
So, I want to leave you with this final, crucial question. Take a close look at your own operations. Is your current screening process relying on good intent or a bulletproof system? For help managing your Kansas City rental property, call Alpine at 816-343-4520 or visit alpinekansascity.com.